around reimagining construction for a nature-positive future. Doris is the co-founder and managing director of Green4Cities from Vienna, and along with her team is shaping the future of urban living through nature-based innovation. From developing urban cooling strategies to pioneering green infrastructure and impact-based finance models, she and her team are redefining how cities can adapt to climate change. Ivan is an architect and project coordinator at SingularGreen based in Alicante in Spain, and he brings over 15 years experience reimagining how cities and nature can coexist. From vertical gardens and green roofs to natural swimming pools, his work transforms concrete landscapes into living ecosystems. Ivan has led internationally acclaimed projects, including the Impossible project in Beijing's 798 district, dying to have a look at that, the Magnum Vertical Garden in Madrid, and has earned recognition from such as the Asian Pacific Designers Prize for his innovative architectural vision. You're both very welcome, and thank you for joining us today. For the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen to the conversation between both of you. And to start that conversation, can I ask you to tell us, how has construction evolved to include nature-based solutions since you began working in urban greening? Who'd like to kick off? Doris, can I put you on the spot?
Yes, hello. Thank you, Isabel, for inviting me. Yes, well, I'm a landscape architect, as Isabel introduced me already, and I can definitely say the situation changed a lot dramatically, so to say, because when I studied like 15 years ago to really be a landscape architect, it was more like a decoration after, as a final decoration to construction projects, more or less. Or maybe to design gardens, so for rich people or so. And now it's really an integral part. It is not only about like aesthetic, because it's an important issue, the aesthetic, which you can see in the new European Bauhaus, for example, programs. But it's not the only thing. It is the functional systems of green and blue infrastructure, which is now becoming more and more important. And it is necessary to be able to plan the impacts, not only the aesthetic, the function, but also the impacts that is realized with the plannings. And this is what architects normally can't do easily. And so it nowadays in bigger projects, architects and landscape architects are working right from the beginning together. Ivan, would you say the same?
Yeah, I agree with you, because when I also started in this sector, the green factor was something like really decorative, right? It was like something aesthetic that implements almost no benefit, right? But I think there has been some changes into that assumption, because now we design the nature-based solution to integrate with architecture and also our cities in a more functional way, right? We are doing nature just work as it usually has to do it. So I think by implementing this, we are also going beyond the energy efficiency. We are proving that nature can restore and heal our cities, and it can transform the spaces where we live into something more attractive, but also more psychological. Psychologically, it's like better for us. And I think that's a good point, because before it was like you can saw that into the private sector, that it was like a luxury item, almost something that you could just show to to let people know that you can do it because it's something beautiful and you have like something exclusive. But now I think there is a global thing about the nature-based solutions.
Anyway, I can say there is still a long way to go, because you know that architects and engineers and landscape architects work together is, I would say, has been developed or evolved in the maybe last 10 years or so. And traditionally, the thinking is still the same as it has been the last 100 years ago, I would say. So architects normally just look at, and they have to, because of economic thinking, I would say. They are looking at the object, and the landscape architects are the people who are, you know, working for the room in between the objects. And the objects are normally, you know, it's the point where you can make money as a developer. It's not the Allmende, the common goods. This is a really very important problem. Who is financing the common goods? And there are some ideas, but this is still, so if there are we have ideas and we're trying to test some economic models, financial models, but if there are some investors having better ideas how to really make that change of transformation, I think it is the financial models that is allowed to really invest also in the common goods and private money. Yeah, but we will come to that later on. So I think the traditional thinking is still just at the beginning of trying to, you know, interact better. So there is a way to go.
Fascinating, and I think you're bringing up that point about financing the public good is critical, really, isn't it? Particularly when it comes to sort of the urban nature-based solutions, because we hear sometimes that the scale of those isn't, sufficient for
Yes.
private investment and so on. So I think it'll be a nice segue into our next panel discussion. But what do you guys see as the drivers in the change towards that incorporation of nature-based solutions into urban greening? Like, was it changes in policy, regulation, feel-good factor? Like, you've been around quite a while, both of you. What were the drivers?
Well, in my opinion, clear hard facts, because cities are, well, in danger, so to say. So they are not as resilient as they should be. The heat waves are a real big problems in East Europe, also in Vienna. So if we have 3 weeks with 40 degrees, I mean, it is really triggering a lot of unhealthy situations. And this is like a hard fact. Floodings, etc., etc. It is a clear measurable, in money measurable problem. So that's why cities react, not because they are just morally or aesthetically. They have to act. And this is one thing. And the other thing is that there are a huge, a lot of policies and new regulations and strategies. So you have to do it also in a way. So I think there is no discussion. I mean, maybe nowadays we say that climate change is not, or, if you look at the media, etc., maybe we are reducing again this alert talking about the problems of climate change, but it's still, the policies are here, the strategies are here, we have to do it. And in my experience, the developers, they want to do it, because you cannot do a construction. If you start a construction project without trees or anything of green, you will not sell this project again. So anyway, everybody tries to make it as cheap as possible, the green things, but you have, without trees, at least in all my projects, you just cannot start. You have to integrate green infrastructure nowadays because of the people want it.
Ivan, is that your experience?
Yeah, I think the initiatives like Green Deal and also the new European House has doing a good job into this because they are forcing public institutions to change their regulations about the green factor, right? Because we need to implement those solutions just by urgency. It's not. It's like when we started to implement the fire systems, that nobody questioned if there was a economical benefit to the buildings, right? Because it was assumed that it was because of the protection of the human life, right? And in this case, I can see that there's not such an urgency feeling because it's like something that is not immediate, but because it's a long process, but we need to cut it right now. And that's the opportunity that we are bringing with this initiative, right? Also, we have the technology right now to measure all the data because through data we can demonstrate that the green factor is not something superfluous, right? Is like something that we need, and we need to implement those measures as soon as we can.
Super. Yeah, I think so. That's important. All right. There's a question that's come in on the chat, and I actually think it's quite interesting, and I'd like to jump to it. How are insurance companies involved with respect to health or damage due to climate change? These are an insurance risk, and have you kind of had any interactions with insurance companies in terms of co-funding or co-financing projects, proposals, buildings, developments?
Yes, I have some interactions with insurance companies in Austria in the area of so-called business parks. So at the side of some cities which are in danger of flood risks. So if you do not install some measures against nature-based solution measures against, then they would not insure these business parks again. So this was really, we have like a demonstration project of that, and this is like a first, I would say, project where we really see the really interest of insurance companies, of local insurance companies that only issue an insurance, or how to say in English, if they install that measures. So the companies are interested in really giving the money for that. But for that you have to, certify that in the planning phase already that you are able to do that. You're not just promising something, but that you're able to have that exact impact. And if you have 100-year flood risk, then you can have that impact with that kind of measure. So this is what you really have to demonstrate in a certified manner. What we can do, I mean, it is not like typical, not each landscape architect can that, and it is not by far not in the education system still yet, but it's what we can already. Easily the technology is here, but the problem is manifold. But I would say this already, it landed already at the insurance area.
It's interesting. You both mentioned the technology and the use of technology in solutions. That's a huge opportunity, I think, for nature-based enterprises or maybe smart tech companies, perhaps, that support these nature-based solutions in terms of monitoring and measuring and What's the sort of level of growth you've seen in that, or what things? I mean, beyond the obvious, flood risk and temperature change and air quality. But I mean, to make the business case for a nature-based solution, you have to be able to measure impact. So where does the technology come in to that? I'm throwing it out to either of you there.
Well, I think if you can measure the biological mass of you can have data about the absorption of CO2, but also some other gases that are like noisy, right, in the ambient. I think that's a good start, but it is proof that the IA technologies are increasing like really, really fast, and you can implement those IA interfaces into the nature-based solutions just by monitoring them and see if there's some plague that is affecting the nature, or if you need more irrigation, for example, in hot days, or all these kind of technologies can preserve the nature-based solution longevity like a lot of time, right?
Well, we have a daughter company. We founded a daughter company that is called Green4Cities, and we measure, plan, and simulate many effects that developers are interested in, or city planners, etc. And it is the technology that, as you said, Ivan, with AI, it is much faster and much cheaper, and like a digital twin on different ecosystem services is not that hard anymore. It is, would not say easy, but it is feasible to do for any kind of planner if it is trained. But I think the problem is that also the financial sector should understand the KPIs. So it makes no sense that if we planner talk about, like, say, 42 KPIs that is necessary to measure, monitor, simulate right from the beginning and 10 years after construction ends, but the financial sector will never ever finance KPIs that are complicated to simulate and nobody understands. And this is so the financing sector and the planning sector and the construction sector, we need to find the same terms so that we can make terms of sheet terms, or how it is called, to really produce and financing models. Because if we have to talk from the same thing and from the same impacts, and this is the problem. The technology is very important. The AI technology, the simulation technologies of anything, biodiversity, etc., heat, because what means heat? Is it the felt temperature? Is it the shadow? What is it? We have already like 100 KPIs that we could say is kind of a KPI for heat development. So what is the KPI that we use for a financial model? That, because the microclimate, for example, it is not obvious. It is by far not obvious, because if we have 100 developers in one quarter, or let's say 10 different developers, 10 different ownerships, and 10 different interests, and how can you? So I think it's the financial model that allows to make it interesting for all those, or at least half of those developers, to really make that kind of construction that is necessary to get the best optimum heat performance development. And this is the point. It is not the technology, it is more co-creation and financial models over a whole quarter, and not one. And this is the problem in cities where most people live. It is not one ownership, it is not one business model. We have 20 developers, 20 owners, 100 people who live there, residents. So this co-creation thing is the art. And the financial model is the form how to bring that co-creative together, I think.
Okay. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of leads on in some ways to my next question, and sort of to begin to wrap this up is, what needs to happen for the construction industry to become, I suppose, more nature positive? I don't know, maybe my experience in Ireland is a bit different in that we don't necessarily see them willingly adopting green solutions because of cost factors and so on. But while we are addressing these climate factors, and if we can tackle that question of business models, how do we encourage the construction sector to change their practice, or to adapt their practice to become more nature positive?
I think we need to start by changing our mindset.
Yeah.
As I said before, when we discuss about the fire system into buildings, we need to see that implementation as something that is necessary. So now that we are developing all those nature-based solutions and implementing into green buildings, into our cities, into our daily life, we need to how to say that in English. We need to assume that is something that is necessary, and by that we need tools like the public regulation to implement that into. If you construct a new building, you need to accomplish one percentage of green factor, meaning that you need the green roof, or you need some surface of creating a green space or something like that. And about the debate of if it is economic, if there should be a profitability in economy, I would say that all these kind of solutions can transform the economy, not in a direct way, but in an indirect way, right? Because you can change the mobility in a city just by creating a huge vertical garden in one street. Suddenly, people want to go there because it's beautiful, right? And just by that factor, you can change all the economy of the little commerce in that street, right? So the benefits are economically viable, but not in a direct way, right?
Yeah, the indirect. Yeah. Last word to you, Doris.
Well, I think we have to work. We should. I'm focused on city areas, so that's I have to say that. So I think we have to really transform whole waters, not single projects. So whole water, and we have to foster collaboration, co-creation between the different interests, and to introduce just the financing models so that we can really transform the common goods, because common goods and individual objects have to work together if nature positiveness should arise, I would say.
Super. Thank you so much for that. That was actually a really kind of interesting discussion, and a lovely precursor, I think, to where we're going next. So thank you both for joining us this afternoon on that really interesting discussion around construction and nature-based solutions. And interesting to hear that talk about financing, the financing models and so on, still coming forth. Right.